Hey everyone. Been a little while since I gave you a Kara update, hasn't it? You ask every time I mention her. In the comments, I see people checking in. I see emails all the time, and I tell her about it all the time. She appreciates it very much. For those of you who don't know, every now and then someone in the comments will be like, wait, who's Kara? And I never, I guess there's that long talk I gave in, my preparedness talk, lawyer, passport, locksmith, gun. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's been shared a lot these days with people thinking about the future. But if you don't want to sit through that, I mean, I'll link to the section of that talk where I talk about her specifically. Kara's a very good friend of mine who got in trouble due to, I would call it hacker research. Not everyone would agree, of course. Kara was very interested in, uh, you might call them novelty ID documents, or we'll just say non genuine ID documents, credential technologies. That's been one of her focuses of research for a very long time. Not an uncommon thing for the trans community to look into, some of which, cross the line into legalities that are troubling. The irony is not lost on us that literally when Kara was originally arrested and I was coordinating her legal defense from the beginning, like I was in a class at Red Team Alliance that we were running with feds and showing them fake IDs. And like they were making fake IDs in our classroom with our printers and our credential tech and stuff, right? So, like, again, if you do work as a hacker, as an independent researcher, it is meaningfully the same thing that your colleagues at big businesses like are doing. But if you're not operating under the auspices of a sanctioned and blessed business and you don't have contracts and clientele that can kind of bring some real gravitas, if like, why are you studying this? You gotta be careful, man. You gotta watch yourself. You gotta have a lawyer and you gotta know that what you're doing is smart or not. Not going to get into the morality of all of that. What I am going to talk about is the morality and lack thereof of our prison system. Kara is now in the official like Bureau of Prisons like custody, BOP. I mean, she's always been under like BOP control, but as many of you are aware, from when she was first processed in at the MDC, the detention center in Manhattan, she was injured pretty quickly. And we don't talk too much about it, but like she was in the hospital, right? And she's had a lot of medical interventions. She can't walk very well still from that day. She's been in a wheelchair, but she's been in medical facilities this whole time. A lot of it was pretrial. And because the BOP, through their subcontractors, like they call them the Marshals Service, but it's not really US Marshals. USI is the contractor who has this fucking private prison type industrial complex, man. Let, ugh. I was already pretty radical anti our criminal justice system and our correction system for a long time in my life because I've had other friends on the inside in the past. But man, just watching it firsthand, it'll be a longer video where I can just rant about that. But the custody she has been in isn't really set up to, care for someone like her with all her injuries and also for the safety of the community. Like, they can't, it's not a prison. You're not in a prison, you're in a hospital. Content warning on this one. Before she was moved this most recent time, Kara was shackled to a bed for over a year. I'll say that again. Kara was shackled to a bed for over a year. Double point shackled, which is not allowed, even though the lawyer said and the BOP said he can't do that. USI just kept doing it. And like she'd be allowed to be unshackled briefly to use the restroom and to shower occasionally. But that was her life. That like she lived in a tiny room and she could read, and I would send her books. She has Chelsea's book, actually. Chelsea sent me her book, and I sent it to Kara. And she had a legal computer that she could use. And eventually, she took a plea, as I think some of you knew this. I talked about this among friends, right? Like 97% of all federal cases plea out. That is, the deck is so stacked against you in the federal system. It was frankly astounding to ever hear of anybody in my life. I know of maybe one person who fought it in the federal system, but almost everyone pleads out, as did Kara. And then it's all a series of points and math and where you're going to be put for how long, et cetera. Well, there's no question of where she's going to be put. If you're a trans inmate, especially trans femme, you're going to Carswell. So all trans inmates you've ever known, unless they're like in Supermax or something, they go to Carswell in Texas. And it's not a minimum or medium or maximum. Like the security levels of a facility don't really apply. Carswell's an administrative facility, but the medical facility there is better than some. Like medical care. Another guy I know, Chris Bowden. If you don't know him on YouTube, he reached out to me. We've talked occasionally. He's friends of a friend of mine. Like he's talked about in his stay in federal prison over a Bitcoin thing when he was running a community center and they were teaching people about Bitcoin. So like medical care is usually non-existent in prisons. Carswell's a little better than that. They are equipped to handle odd medical cases in addition to all trans prisoners. So that's good for now. Kara has more freedom of movement there. This whole time she's had access to phones. So we have had a standing phone call ever since she got processed in 3 times a week. And it's been hard. It's been really hard on me emotionally. It's been hard on her to be out of touch with people. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we still have our calls, almost without fail. An additional thing now that she's inside of an actual BOP facility, though, is she has access to a lot of the interesting resources in the tech system, like we've talked about in my previous presentation, Core Links email. She has her email back. Not her civilian email, obviously, but she can send and receive email through Core Links. She has Core Links video access. So now we've been able to add video calls occasionally. There's slots that you have to book them, and it takes commissary funds. But we do get the occasional video call. I mentioned that recently in my Alaska Air lost firearm case AirTag story. I'll link that also below. And just the other day, we had a call. She said to say hi to everyone. She always appreciates everyone who asks about her. How long will she be in? Question mark there. The official sentencing that she has was probably going to be something like, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years. It's all over the map, right? Like you have the recommended, and then you can apply for parole, and then there's all these points and programs that you can enroll in. If you're on the inside, there's not a lot to do. You can enroll in education classes, sort of self-improvement classes. It's what our correction system is ostensibly supposed to be. Some of them are kind of weak ass. You can learn like parenting skills. And so, things that a lot of people whose lives led them to a direction of incarceration probably did lack some of these skills. But Kara's a fully functional adult, right? But she's taking all the classes she can. She's enrolling herself through everything she can. She still can't walk. She's still in a wheelchair. She is in a medical wing. If you're curious about her lodging, she has a room that has a couple of beds in it. Again, it's a medical center, but don't think of like a hospital room. It's kind of a bunkhouse room. They get different cellies moving in and out, so she's had different cellmates at times. Everyone's been pretty friendly, thank goodness. She's met a few other trans inmates because they're all there, but they're all different floors. Carswell's huge; it's a massive facility, and she has to go to different floors for a pill line, and then show up for count, and then you can talk to your various medical appointment people on different floors. She can get around. There's some commissary, right? So there's chow, right? There's chow call, but also we put money on our commissary. Our friend Hannah is the one who's been able to get that to work. It's annoying. It's kind of a Western Union app thing that never works when I try to do it. But, our friend, she's been able to put money from all of us to her, and you can spend it on like kind of vending machine type shit. So you can get ramen noodles and snacks and anything you've ever heard about sort of prison ingenuity about I baked this no-bake cheesecake using the packets of this and the sugar and the creamers from that. All that kind of stuff happens. So her other cellies have made her gifts and surprises from time to time. They make, makeup out of other supplies. They actually sometimes get real makeup because there's a beautician school there. A lot of people get their beauty and hair license on the inside. There's a lot of career training that's available. It's not great training, but it's available. So that means that other people, you can get your hairstyled, you can get your makeup done, which has made her feel better than she has in a while. She didn't have any of that when she was in the hospital. They prohibited it. They even prohibited chapstick that was not white because they said that's lipstick. Lipstick's not allowed, even though it's expressly allowed under the Transgender Offender Manual, which is an actual document that exists. We're not going to get into that. You can look it up. You can read all about it. So she hasn't experienced any kind of real direct abuses. It's you're incarcerated. It's federal corrections. It's not like a fucking retreat that's a gem to be at, but it's a better place than she had been before. Other inmates, I've said, have been mostly friendly. One inmate lodged a complaint, and they said, "I don't wanna be housed in a unit with someone who's trans, blah." And the attorneys, even the staff at Carswell, because they had to write it up and look into it, and they said, "No, this is bogus." And I'm not gonna say that's like a bigoted person who did that. It's people will try anything to cut their time, right? So that could have been a complaint that was lodged as someone trying to use it as a basis for, "I need to have my time cut because this isn't it's not a good conditions for me." There's a lot of that that can go on. It hasn't been very prolific for her. So she's safer than she has been for a while, and we're not gonna say happy, right? But, like, she's okay. She's so strong. Kara is one of the strongest people I've ever met. I don't know how she can be this resilient, but when I talk to her, there's always a smile, there's always just best wishes for all of us and all of you. She would welcome if you want to reach out. I talked to her about this, and if you'd like, I will drop her mailing address down below. You can write to her if you wish. And there's some rules and regs that you should be aware of. So any letter that you write, it's not like it gets handed to her. It'll be photocopied so that even if you were like putting, I don't know, perfume on the paper, you can't like, someone snuck perfume into the prison for me. Like nothing can be on the paper, right? She'll get a color copy of that, and it's lower resolution. That's how we have sent some photos and such in some of our letters. If you do write, I'll even describe this down in the doobly-doo. You put like, the header, like to this address, to this inmate at this register number. And then at the bottom of each page, single-sided pages, each page says, this person's name, this register number, page 1 of 3, page 2 of 3, 3 of 3. And that's the best chance of the mailroom not screwing anything up. Timelines takes a couple of weeks sometimes. It took, about 2 weeks from when the mail actually hit the P.O. box at Carswell to get to her, but that was around Thanksgiving. So on a good day, maybe it takes about a week to process through the mailroom. Holiday season's probably going to see an uptick in mail, so don't expect that she can write to you right away. If you want to contact her via core links, via email, that's a different system as well, but you could always try including your email address in a written correspondence, and maybe she'll be able to use core links to write to you. It's not like you get an email in your inbox. What you'll get in your Gmail, it'll say you have a prisoner email at core links, and it'll direct you to core links where you can sign in on core links and read and send mail that way. It's free. Core links is free. The phone calls are free. The federal system is better than some types of incarceration. I've experienced and had people in everything from county jails to state lock all the way up to the federal system. Make no mistake, it's still a prison, and it's still horrible, and it still needs to be obliterated and abolished. But for now, Kara's relatively safe, and she appreciates all the well wishes. Whenever I'm with anyone who has heard of her matter, it's even when I'm like down in Texas, when I film with Brian and the crew at Modern Rope, Brian to this day, he's like, "Hey, how's your friend Kara? How's she been doing?" Because, she knew who he was through magic, and he asked about what kind of magic she did. And yeah, that's the biggest thing that you can ever do for anyone on the inside. The world is proceeding on sort of without them, and it's so hard for them to watch the world just move on by. Staying in touch, like just staying in touch and just saying, "Hey, what did you eat today? How are you doing? What's going on?" Sharing any communication at all, it's so huge. So if any of you out there have loved ones, I very much hope not, but any loved ones currently behind bars, please know that they're thinking of you and we're thinking of them. And I hope that your communications with them are going well. And any of you that, again, want to reach out to Kara, want to talk to Kara, please feel free to check the written address down below. That would be very lovely. If you want to send actual items, that's, of course, a whole freaking procedure. It doesn't work like, "Oh, I'm going to send this book through the mail." No, I mean, she would love books. She would love magazines. Any reading matter is huge. So anything, she's a hacker. She's a technologist, right? Any kind of technology magazines or tech books, I will try to find a list that I had somewhere, a book she was interested in, and I'll put that down in the doobly-doo. So if you want to send something like that, it has to come directly from a publisher. So you could order it like on Amazon to the address that reaches her, and it'll eventually wind its way there. You can sign up for a magazine if you want to, I don't know, 2600. Does 2600 still exist? I don't think it does. But if you could think of any print magazines, you could send them down to that address. as long as it's coming from, a distribution center, not from you at your desk licking a stamp. There's a lot more I can share in the future. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. We will see how long she's going to be there. We'll see when she gets out. We'll see where she lands. She loves all of us very much, and she knows that you all love her. I tell her every time anyone says a single comment, I save them in a list and I read them off to her. All the best to any one of you who have any contact at all with what we call the corrections environment or the justice system. It is a horrible institution, a horrible series of institutions, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, even people I don't like in this world. In the meantime, yeah, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But there's your update. I am rearranging my whole office. That's why I look a little different today. And I'll be visiting family, and I'll get a few videos out to you as the holiday season keeps coming along. Some will be pretty happy. There'll be videos maybe about the gun match that I was at, obviously. Moonshine Brutality was wonderful. I've got some video content I got to crank out there. Some elevator stuff. Man, you're going to smile so big. That'll be around Christmas. I'll try to drop this video about elevators and the Otis elevator voice. Some of you know if you follow me on the other socials what I'm talking about there. It was delight. I had a very fun conversation and interview, and I've got to package it all up for you. Yeah, that's what I got. I got to hit the plane that we're catching in a couple hours, so I'm going to crank this out for you. Talk to you soon, and wherever you are, whatever you do, wherever you go, stay safe out there.